So I'm going to work through the problems that we completed on the solving by completing the square table group activity that you did today. So first let's see about getting this focused. Okay, so problem number 1. This one started out as a squared minus 6a plus 13 equals 5. So first thing that we need to do is to move the 13 to the other side. So we would be subtracting 13 from both sides. So that's going to leave a squared minus 6a plus blank equals, and when we subtract 13 over here, that's going to be negative 8 plus blank. Then we figure out what our magic number is. So half of this number is negative 3, and that squared is 9. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do the other. So on the right, we get 1. On the left, we can factor this down to be a minus 3 squared. So next step is to take the square root of both sides. So doing that gives us a minus 3 equals plus or minus 1, because the square root of 1 is 1. So then we need to add 3 to both sides. So a is going to be 3 plus or minus 1, which means that 3 plus 1 is a solution, and 3 minus 1 is a solution. So for problem number 1, a is 2 or 4. So that's number 1. And remember, with all the videos, if I'm going too fast, just pause and then replay it if you need to. Problem number 2. This one started out as 5m squared minus 10m minus 15 equals 0. So first thing we want to do is move that over to the other side. So that gives us 5m squared minus 10m equals 15. And then we need to get rid of this leading coefficient. So I'm going to factor out a 5. So that would be m squared minus 2m plus blank equals 15 plus blank. And then the magic number, so half of this would be negative 1. Squared would be 1, but I'm putting a 1 here, but that 1 is going to have a 5 multiplied to it, so to keep it equal, I need to add 5 to the other side. So on the right side, that gives me 20. On the left, I can factor this trinomial to be m minus 1 squared. Next thing I need to do is divide both sides by 5. So I'm going to divide this side by 5, divide that side by 5. So I will get m minus 1 squared equals 4. Then take the square root of both sides. So I get m minus 1 equals plus or minus 2. Oops, sorry about that. So then I need to add 1 to both sides. So I have 1 plus or minus 2. So 1 plus 2 would equal 3, and 1 minus 2 would equal negative 1. So the the two answers are 3 and negative 1. So I'm going to say m equals negative 1 or 3. All right, moving on. Problem number 3. See if I can fix this a little bit. Okay. Here's question number 3. Was c squared minus 33 equals negative 8c. All right, so the deal is that I need the 33 on the other side and the 8c over here with the c squared. So I'm going to move that over there and that over there, so I'm going to get c squared plus 8c plus the blank equals 33 plus the blank. So I kind of did a lot in that step, but I added the 8c over there, I subtracted the 33 over there. This gives me a positive c squared, which is what I want. I don't want a negative out there. And then, so now I can fill in the blank. So half of this is 4, squared would make 16. So add 16 to both sides. On the right side, I get 49. On the left, this factors to be c plus 4 squared. Take the square root of both sides. So c plus 4 equals positive or negative 7. Then I need to subtract 4 from both sides. So c is negative 4 plus or minus 7. So the two answers are negative 4 plus 7 would be 3, and negative 4 minus 7 would be negative 11. So c could be 3 or negative 11. All right, number 4, moving right along. So number 4 starts off as p squared equals 2p plus 48. So for this problem, I really want to get the 2p back over onto this side. So if I do that, I will have p squared minus 2p plus blank equals 48 plus blank. All right, so now half of this is negative 1, squared is 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. On the right side, we get 49. On the left, this would factor down to be p minus 1 squared. Take the square root of both sides. So p minus 1 is a positive or negative 7. So then I need to add the 1 to both sides. So p is 1 plus or minus 7, which means that p could equal 1 plus 7, which would be 8, or 1 minus 7, which would be negative 6. So p would be 8 or negative 6. And those are the two possible answers for 4. Number 5. Oops. All right, this one is n squared minus 8n minus 6 equals negative 5. Okay, so for this one, I need to move that negative 6 over to the other side. So that would be n squared minus 8n plus blank equals, when I add 6 over here, this is going to be 1 plus blank. All right, now I got to do the magic number. So half of this would be negative 4, squared would be 16. So on the left side, this factors to be n minus 4 squared. And on the right, I get 17. Then we take the square root of both sides. So n minus 4 is going to be positive or negative square root of 17. I can't simplify that, so I just need to add the 4 to the other side. So n is 4 plus or minus the square root of 17. So that means that my two answers would be 4 plus the square root of 17, and then 4 minus the square root of 17. But we can leave our answer just like that. We don't need to separate them. All right, next up, number 6. So, whoops. All right, n squared minus 6n plus 3 equals 0. All right, so first thing we need to do, shift that over there. N squared minus 6n, whoops, sorry about that, minus 6n plus blank equals negative 3 plus blank. All right, the magic number here is 9. So on the left side, we get n minus 3 squared equals 6. take the square root of both sides. N minus 3 is positive or negative square root of 6. Can't simplify that, so I just need to add the 3 to both sides. And I get 3 plus or minus the square root of 6. All right, next up, number 7. Let's see. 4n squared plus 8n equals negative 3. So this one, I don't need to shift anything over. That's already been done. I do need to pull out this 4. So if I pull that 4 out, I'll have n squared plus 2n plus blank equals negative 3 plus blank. All right, the magic number here, half of this squared, is 1. But since I have a number that I pulled outside, that means putting 4 on the other side. So on the left side, this becomes 4, and then n plus 1 squared. The right side equals 1. Divide both sides by 4 to get that out of the way. And now I can take the square root of both sides. So n plus 1 equals plus or minus 1/2. So the square root of 1 is 1, the square root of 4 is 2. So then I need to subtract 1 from both sides. So I'll just go down here. N is negative 1 plus or minus 1/2. All right, so we can answer these two. So negative 1 plus 1/2 would be negative 1/2. And negative 1 minus 1/2 would be negative 1 and 1/2. So those are the two values of n. And you could write it as an improper fraction as well. That would be fine. Oops, sorry again. All right, last one. So save the best for last. 5x squared minus 10x minus 13 equals 0. All right, so we need to move the 13 to the other side. And I might go ahead and pull this 5 out at the same time. So x squared minus 2x plus blank equals 13 plus blank. So I kind of did two things in one in that step also. All right, magic number here is a 1, which means on the right side I need to add a 5. So this becomes 5x minus 1 squared equals 18. Divide both sides by 5 so that will cancel. And now I can take the square root of both sides. So here I'm just going to pause for a second and take care of this square root. So I know that's going to be the square root of 5. It just so happens the square root of 18 would be 9 times 2. So that's going to end up being 3 square root of 2, and it's plus or minus. So now we have x minus 1 equals plus or minus 3 square root of 2 over square root of 5. And now I need to add the 1 over. So here's the deal. So I need to add 1. So I'm adding 1 to get that to cancel. So I'm adding 1. So when I add the 1 over here, I'm going to add it as a square root of 5 over square root of 5. So that I have a common denominator down here. Because square root of 5 over square root of 5 is the same as 1. So now x is the square root of 5 plus or minus 3 square root of 2, and all of that is over the square root of 5. And there's no need for us to separate those. And you're going to learn in next year how to take care of a radical on the bottom. But that takes care of problem number 8. So again, if you need to review, rewatch, pause, and play again, please do.